Hey, happy Friday. You want a prime example of nature's own water treatment plant and how human beings circumvent it? Yeah? Here's nature's water treatment plant, yeah? You could have, as they do out in the countryside, toilet water. It's just slide outside of your home into the yard, nice hot summer day. Water evaporates. It passes up through many, countless different strata. You know, the Earth's magnetosphere. Many different strata of magnetic influence up into the clouds. Yeah? Wherein which it partially gets, yeah, taken care of. Talk about structured water. Let's say nature's own water processing or water treatment plant. It gets structured. But it's not completely done. Condensation occurs, falls back down to Earth, trickles down to the aquifer system, assuming it's not passing through some sort of toxic waste dump that human beings have put in place, falls back to Earth. Yeah, and what do human beings do? Interesting. We take the disgusting, horrific water full of every form of calamitous spew and puke and just the nastiest filth you could possibly imagine. But every variety of pharmaceutical and filth and just any horrific thing that you could imagine and magnify that exponentially into outer space. Yeah, gets chemically treated, and they will tell you, well, it's quantitatively pure. We've tested it for, it only has 4 parts per billion of fecal matter. It gets put back into the water system, and then you turn on your tap water, and then like little kids pouring a glass of that stuff and drinking it. You notice how everybody's gone crazy and nuts, and people, well, it's the stress of city life. We say that's what it is, as opposed to like people living out in the country and drinking well water, which has gone through nature's treatment plant. It can be the same calamitous filth and spew, except it has been evaporated. You know, we use distillers for purifying water and purifying all sorts of stuff. It's nature's own distiller. Evaporated, goes up, accumulates, condenses, cold, falls back to the earth. Of course, you know, it usually goes back into the aquifer system. 60 years later, depending on the aquifer system. I used to dive in the aquifer systems in north central Florida. Had oxygen decompression tanks, an underwater scooter, underwater cave lights, a really expensive training as a full cave diver. And it's always 72 degrees year-round. This is High Springs, Florida, where the aquifer system is. Typically, it's been there for like 40 to 50 years, as I recall. You take your regulator out when I'm in the cave system, and you know, you get thirsty, you have a drink of the water that you're swimming in. It's incredibly pure and refreshing. So there's nature's water filtration system. Yeah. So human beings are consuming this. We think that it's actually, you know, because city people are nuts. That's the reason why. What if it was very greatly connected to water? I have the actual water molecule. It's the 108, 36 degree isosceles triangle tattooed here on the back of my hands. Water, by the way, analogously, the broadcast, of course, would be the Jivatman, or life itself, because life is the consubstantiality of matter and spirit. The signal, of course, would be analogous to the soul, or the transcendent principle, which one truly is. The body, manokavinyanam, meaning thought and consciousness, manokavinyanam, is the processing of the signal and, of course, the broadcast. But life is not possible without this neat little thing, and it's a special antenna, and it's the only, it's not my opinion, by the way, I keep saying this, nobody really has any clue as to how incredibly important it is. It's the only geometry in the entire universe that has perfect incommensurability from top to bottom with its incommensurable cut, the only one. Nothing else comes close. It's that specific isosceles triangle. That's the secret of Pythagorean incommensurability. There are many layers of it. It goes deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. I can make like 100 videos on it, and I still have only scratched the surface of it. But analogously, in a radio analogy, this would be water. Yeah? Without the antenna, no matter how expensive the radio is, you got a pile of garbage here. Yeah. Human beings, last I recall, are how much water, percentage-wise? What are we like? I forget the exact percentage, so if I say it, then someone goes, oh, that's what humans are. It's mostly water. Yeah. People say, or someone was telling me in the comments section, because I read every comment, say, here it's a flesh, a flesh radio. It's not a flesh radio, it's a water radio. Yeah, not flesh. Someone say, like, flesh radio or flesh receiver. It's like, no, it's a water radio. Water is the antenna. Life and consciousness are not possible without water. And you think it's a coincidence that that specific geometry is also, too, the water molecule, whereby which, and only due through which, life is possible. That's not a coincidence at all. It's absolutely not the case. The Platonists in 509d to 511 said that we have two things. A third thing must be necessary for this thing to exist. That, of course, being life. That third thing, of course, is incommensurability, and the molecule to stand for incommensurability and the establishment of life, of course, is water. Everybody keeps quoting this guy. I've got his books. He's written many. I think his name is Mashiro Emoto. He's written many books on water. He would actually yell at certain water and scream to it and play it like death metal. And when he fed that to the plants basically withered. And when he said nice things to it or played classical music to it, other things, the plants would thrive. He actually proved that the effect and intent on and of will has on water is demonstrable and infinitely repeatable. When I started making videos many years ago, and I discovered the secrets of Rawls and Davis, and I've got their books, and their books are out there on PDF Drive and other places. Thanks to me, you're so very welcome. Sounds fantastical. You can't find this really anywhere on YouTube, but I told people, and I've done the experiment many countless times, and I've posted the videos. Just using alfalfa sprout seeds alone, it works on absolutely anything. By exposure to South Pole, just seed exposure only, or seeds while they're actually germinating. They grow faster, grow better, less dead seeds. They smell better, they taste better. North Pole exposed seeds, they grow slowly, there's more dead seeds. They smell bad, they taste bad. I've had thousands, I'm not exaggerating, thousands of people do that experiment. I don't believe you, but this is a simple experiment. I could do it. I do a lot of gardening. I got seeds here. Oh, gosh darn it. Look at that. What he actually said is real. It's palpable. It's repeatable. It's incredible. Who's talking about this out there? How many farmers do you think, now, hey, Farmer John, now, if you do South Pole exposure, just your seeds alone, for half an hour, it doesn't even take a half an hour, yeah? Say you got a big bucket of, I don't know, it could be tobacco seeds, yeah, I don't smoke, but it could be tobacco seeds, whatever farmer's got to grow. Corn seed, melon seed, just seed exposure alone. Drastically different results. You can actually change the way a tomato is affected, just the seeds alone. You'll have more acidic tomatoes or less acidic tomatoes just on magnetic seed exposure. There's probably one farmer in 10,000 that would believe that. They say, well, you're crazy. That sounds like magic seeds from Jack and the Bean. No. Done the experiment many times. So have thousands of others. It's true. It's real. Well, I've been farming for 50 years, and I never heard any such hogwash. Try it yourself, Farmer John. You know how incredibly important that is? Here's something I'm going to say, and just to dumb it down. It's like, what's the reason why? Well, you actually have a phase disparity on a magnet, proportionality of 1 to 5, north being a ratio of 1, and the south pole being a proportionality of phi, is that a magnet, of course, is a point source object with a polarized field, right? Magnet has poles, right? Explaining polarity is a matter for a different video, which I've already done. So you have a polarized field, 100% undeniable by anybody on Earth. 100% also undeniable by anybody on Earth is that water is a polar molecule. Look it up. Type in, is water a polar molecule? Yes, it is. You'll get a million results. You have a point source polarized field with its magnetic polarized field acting upon a polar molecule. The polar molecule, which is the basis of life, the antenna of consciousness. And that third thing which makes life possible, consubstantiality, matter, and spirit, requires a third thing. Yeah, just like this battery. I mean, this radio needs two things. Essentially, it also needs a battery, yeah? Let's not talk about the battery. Yep. Needs the signal and it needs the radio. Either one is not a whole lot without the other. The signal is ultimately important, but let's not take the analogy too well. We don't have anything until we screw this little sucker on. Well, it's just a little piece of wire. That's all any antenna is, a little piece of wire. It can actually be set to like quarter wave, half wave, full wave of the frequency, which means it has better gain. You know what better gain an antenna is? Like you drive over the hill and you're trying to pick up your favorite FM. Nobody listens to radio anymore. They listen to their MP3 player or their discs. You have a decreasing gain. It's like, oh, you can't tune it anymore. You're like driving away from your favorite radio station. You're taking a long trip. It's like, oh, it won't tune anymore. Signal's kind of cracking out. Wouldn't that be analogous to insanity, deluded, ignorant human beings? Well, what if the antenna, which makes up most of every living being on Earth, were polluted and corrupt and broken? Like if I took this antenna and I just like clipped it in half, it will still work, but the gain will be bad. Or if I were to bend it in an odd fashion, or like beat it against the brick wall for about a half an hour and kind of wreck the piss out of it and then screw it back in, you'd get a scratchy signal, wouldn't you? You would get poor gain. Gain, yeah? It's no different than human beings consuming and their bodies being made up of impure water. Well, sure it's pure. We've been tested the output at the water treatment facility. There's only 3 parts per billion of fecal matter in there. Yeah, that's quantitatively pure water. Not qualitatively pure. Quantitative, qualitative. It's pure water. That most of the water that people buy, not only is it sitting in freaking plastic, which is bad enough, it has been like triple or quadruple distilled tap water. There's like, I forget which big company is in Kentucky. We got the purest water. Yes, it is. It's quantitatively pure. It's qualitatively impure. It is made out of triple or quadruple distilled tap water. Tap water is 1,000,000 times reprocessed puke, vomit, poo, and pee water that has every pharmaceutical known to man, every form of filth and hatred and just disgusting demonic filth. Water treatment plant in nature, vis-a-vis the clouds, the aquifer system, a little bit different. It passes through, not only when it goes up into the clouds, when it gets evaporated, through many different strata. You hold out a magnetic compass, you point north, there's layers of the Earth's magnetosphere all the way from the top, even under the ground, all the way to the top. It's passing through all those layers going up, all those layers coming down again, goes in the aquifer system, gets purified between 20 to 60 years, sometimes even longer. There's water, nature's treatment plant, not humans' treatment plant, which doesn't do anything. Well, we chemically treat it and we put it back into the tap water system. Yeah, it's purified. No, it's not. No, it's not. Water is, not my opinion, hardcore fact, undeniable, the antenna for consciousness. Analogously, don't take the analogy too far, but this is water. What if it were crazy people were not crazy and nutty and loopy and, just basically insane, not because they're living in the city and they're always stressed out and anxiety prone, etc., etc. Not because of the city, but because they're consuming trash instead of like Hillbilly Bob drinking out of his aquifer system from the 200-foot well that's drilled behind his cabin. Yeehaw! What if Billy Bob's got a straight, level head on his shoulder? He thinks correctly and clearly. He might be illiterate, but he's not nuts. He's not like cuckoo, cuckoo, like everybody in the city. Well, that's just city living did it to you. There's a lot of things that did it to you, but it's the water. Anyway, Mashiro Emoto, by the way, there's a reason why nobody talks about this except for me. I think I've only ever mentioned this once before, and you should listen up. It's really important. We know where the Chaldean oracles were. The Egyptians actually did the same thing, where the priests would hang out in pools all day long, and they would come out and they'd get visions. They use them. You know what happens when you put like a half-wave antenna on a radio instead of a full-wave antenna? You put a full wave antenna on it, you get better gain. Since water is the antenna, by changing what you're immersed in and increasing the gain of the signal, which is absolutely everywhere and nowhere, just like the signal of this radio. Because there is no signal in the radio.
The wind was north at 6 miles an hour. The pressure was 30.
There's no signal in the radio. What if you wanted to increase the gain? Wouldn't you immerse yourself in water? Anyway, Chaldean oracles, we know the pools that they basically spent much of the day in. They would get out, they would actually get visions. You know why people get inspired when they take a shower or take a bath? Well, these kind of mind drifts, you get inspired. No, it's because they're in the water. The most prolific inventor on planet Earth, you can look this guy up, he has over 3,300 patents. He's the guy who invented the floppy disk. His name is Yoshiro Nakamatsu. Hey! Yoshiro Nakamatsu, yep. You know what he does all day long? 3,300 patents. He's in his mid-90s, I believe. 3,300. You know what he does all day long? He swims in the pool. He keeps a notepad and writing utensils. I've seen video of him doing this. He gets inspired. He directs his mind towards it, but he sits in a super gigantic amplifier. The pool! And he'll get inspired. He'll swim to the side of the pool and he'll write down his invention, go back to swimming again. So he does every day, like long period. Go look him up. Don't take my word for it. Don't take my word for it. No life exists without water. Water, of course, itself has its own life. Yeah, when they do organ transplants, like somebody died in a car wreck or whatever, and they'll transplant their kidneys or their liver to another person, all of a sudden, the person that didn't know the organ donor will have memories that the organ donor has. Like, I never did this in my life. Why am I having memories of, this state that I've never been in? Oh. Yeah. Memory is actually stored in water. Where in water? Water is just hydrogen and oxygen. Is two little hydrogen atoms and an oxygen molecule. There's no signal in this antenna. It's like, where is it stored? Is it stored in the wire? Where is it stored? It's not in the actual physical material. This would be analogous. This is covered in plastic, rubberized plastic. Has a piece of copper in it with a specific, I think it's like a quarter wave antenna for UHF, VH. It's not stored anywhere within the physicality of this antenna. It's not in the oxygen and nitrogen. It's in the harmonic nature that makes up that specific, perfect, not my opinion, perfect incommensurable geometry of the water molecule. And that geometry is tattooed right here on the back side of my hand. The same isosceles triangle, the only perfect incommensurable geometry in the entire universe, in triplicate makes up the Pythagorean pentagram. So it's not in the oxygen, it's not in the hydrogen. There's no signal that is, nor is there consciousness or memory in the oxygen. That's completely ridiculous. If I were to say memory and consciousness is in the water, in other words, some constituent of either the oxygen or the hydrogen or both, that would be insane, illogical, absurd, nonsensical, stupid. I never said that. Someone, if I didn't clarify on that, someone was like, it's ridiculous. This is fat bald tattooed guy saying that memory, recollection, so on and so forth is actually in the hydrogen and oxygen making up the water molecule. I never said that at all. It's nowhere near that. It's not in there at all. It's in the geometry that makes up that molecule. How could you have memory? How could you actually have a signal gain from a specific shape? I used to make a lot of antennas. You could take a piece of wire, you can make a dipole antenna out of it, which has a certain gain. You could take that same wire and make a Yagi with a reflector element, a driver element, and a director elements, depending on the structure. Go look up Yagi antenna. It has a reflector, a driver, and directors. You could take that same wire, cut it up, make a harmonic of the driven element, which is for transceiving, a reflector element, and the driven elements, which are in front of the driver elements, and get way better gain. There is no signal difference. You get the same wire making up both antenna, but one is way, way, way better. The other one is directional. You actually put them on a rotor, on a outdoor if you have them on antenna Yagi, and the motor will drive it. It's like, I want to talk to a guy over here, and now instead of over there, it's like you turn that Yagi over that direction. You could hear when the antenna turns, the signal will go, the gain, boom! This is all about harmonics. So no, there is no signal in the oxygen or nitrogen. I mean, oxygen or hydrogen, excuse me, of the water molecule. Seed experiments. Thousands of people have replicated this. I've made countless videos on it. Try it yourself. Water itself does have its own life. So ask yourself why the Chaldean oracles submerge yourself in the pools. Why is Yoshiro Nakamatsu the most prolific inventor of the entire history of the earth? Perpetually swimming in a pool, he keeps a notepad on the side of the pool when he gets inspired. Like, aha, another invention. The inventor of the floppy disk, by the way. Water processed by nature or water processed by man. There is a huge difference between qualitative and quantitative. Our water that comes, let's say New York City tap water is the cleanest in the country. Who cares? It's quantitatively pure. It still is qualitatively impure because, you know, the reason why everybody's insane up in these big cities. Every form of vile filth and spew that has been recycled a million times over. Toilet water, pharmaceuticals. They don't actually get all the pharmaceuticals out of the water either, by the way. Like water now has extremely high levels of estrogen in it and antipsychotic meds and everything you could think of. This has been proven. You can go look that up. Nature has its other ways of processing things. Think about urinating on grapes, for example. It's like, what? That sounds horrible. Like, say a bunch of cows are peeing and pooping on a pile of grapevines. Just one example. Well, nature processes its own way. Would you have any problem eating the grapes? Wow, man, the liquid inside these grapes are awesome. Well, yeah, cows have been pooping on them for 9 months. Tastes great. Don't taste impure to me at all. Vegetables. You know, are you worried about like eating vegetables that like say for example you had 100 people, you know, taking a whiz on a bunch of vegetables? Or would you be concerned with eating the water inside those vegetables? Because nature is extremely efficient. Now some people might thinking about it, but it's way, way safer to do that than to drink the stuff that's out of the tap that's so quantitatively pure, excuse me. Other ways that nature purifies water: springs, aquifers, waterfalls, our atmospheric system, evaporation, on and on and on. Nature's got more than a few ways. Structured water, of course, does the same thing. I've shown you many different ways to make structured water devices. I'm not selling a structured water device, okay? I'm not sitting here selling anything at all. Structured water does the same thing that nature does when nature adapts the water molecule through chains, proteins, cells, evaporations, aquifer systems, springs, waterfalls, wells. It electrostatically cleanses the qualitative nature of the water. Consciousness is not in the oxygen or nitrogen. The qualitative nature of water is not how many parts per billion there is of like estrogen and fecal matter. People don't ever think about qualitative. Now, hey, no human being on Earth, no water treatment plant on Earth has ever thought about the qualitative nature of water. We just need to make it quantitatively pure. We need to eliminate out all the fecal matter and the poo and the pee and the pharmaceuticals, and they don't get it all, by the way. It's like, it's pure. Yeah, it's the cleanest, filthy water on Earth. Yeah. If you want a leading cause for human insanity, depression, misery, there's many reasons. Stress, bills, economy, inflation. There are many reasons. I'm not blaming it all on water, but a large portion of it has to do with the water that makes up what you consume. That's not my opinion, that's my feeling, that's not my belief. Whether you believe me or not on what I said in this video, I honestly don't give a tinker's hoot. I am right on this. Don't believe me? Fine. Tell me how much you don't believe me. I don't care. The proof is undeniable. What proof? It's quantitatively pure. You know, stuff comes out of the tap is perfectly fine. Yeah, that's why little 12-year-old Johnny's on antidepressants and miserable and stressed out, worn out. Yeah, it's not because of his school system or society or inflation or societal stresses. No, it's because of water. It's because of water. Also, too, asking me about what happens to microwaved water. Ask me how good it is to microwave water. Go on and ask me. What's wrong with microwaves? People have been using them for decades. Yes, they have, and cancer has gone like this. Whew! Right through the roof. Oh, it's because of inferior genetics. Well, a little bit of it is, but not really most of it. No, it's not. The secret's water are deep. Yeah. I've spent an enormous amount of time thinking about water. And no, there is no memory or consciousness in the oxygen or nitrogen that makes up the water molecule. And there is no signal in the wire that makes up this antenna. It is in the harmonic structure and geometry of an antenna. And there are many ways to skin a cat, as the old saying goes. There's many ways to build an antenna. There are many different, countless different shapes of molecules, but there's only one whereby which consciousness is manifest and life is possible. And there is absolutely no coincidence that that specific element, the water molecule, makes up the only incommensurable geometry in the entire universe. The secret, not my opinion, the secret of the Pythagoreans is that 108, 36, 36 isosceles triangle that makes up the Pythagorean pentagram. Is the only perfect geometry in the entire universe, is the geometry of the water molecule, which is the basis of life, consciousness, or in the ancient Pali, manma kavinyanam, mentation and consciousness. Think about that while you're floating in the tub or taking a shower, where you get inspired. Why do I get inspired in the shower? I don't know. Why is the most prolific inventor always swimming in the pool? Why are the Chaldean oracles basically soaking in the pool all day long? You know, they're just lazy folks. That's why the Chaldean oracles were soaking in mineral pools of water before giving their oracle advice. No, there's no coincidence there at all. They weren't soaking in the water just because they were lazy bums. They like to soak in the ancient version of a jacuzzi. That's not the reason. They amplified the signal whereby which things are known and understood, raising the gain of their understanding. That's incredibly profound, and it's also, too, undeniable. However, surely someone will deny it. I don't believe that. That's all hogwash. Believe whatever you want. It's still the truth. If you ever want to contact me, my information in the description below. Any donations always warmly welcome. Lux e Veritas. Have a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.